when you think of mosques, jama'ats, Husseyniyat, you think workshops, you think Salat Jama'ah, for example, Q&A sessions. Now, every now and then you might get a barbecue outside in the car park, depending on the weather. Maybe some table tennis in the main hall or the main Salah hall for a few hours. But a structured sports initiative where its youth and adults can get involved in a professional, semi-professional, amateur manner, taking on teams from other mosques with prizes is either rare or isn't talked about enough. Now, I'm delighted to be joined by former chairman of Stanmore Jaffrey, Shafique Govani, he's taken time out of his busy schedule, and I really, really appreciate it, because this topic, I've been tracking it for the last couple of years, and for the life of me, I wanted to speak to someone who can give me the ins and outs of, how it was created, what it's all about, and what we can expect, inshallah, for the future. So, Shafique, welcome to the show. Assalamu alaikum.
Salam. Thank you very much.
How's everything? Inshallah, all is well?
Everything's fine.
Getting into the studio, everything
Absolutely,
okay?
Totally.
Fantastic, fantastic. So I wanted to start, I guess, with the first question. In terms of your experience, you've seen it over a couple of years. So yeah, in terms of how did it all start? Where did it all begin? Sports in a structured way, especially when it comes to Stanmore first, Stanmore Mosque. Absolutely. And then we'll kind of talk about more the international side of it. So how did it all start?
No, absolutely. So the sports has been a very crucial part of the whole setup of the communities that have been built up. From East Africa. Yeah. When the community then migrated to London, UK, right. North America, etc. Sports has always been an instrumental part of the journey. And that's been one of the sort of main parts of the activities, as you rightly mentioned. Yeah. What we have seen over the past, I would say, 7 to 8 years, is the fact that we've got a very good foundation and sports activities in some certain very specific sports that are very dear to the Khoja community, right. like volleyball and football. And I'll come back to that in later on. Yeah. We've now tried to set a structure around it. Okay. What has been lacking in the past has been the structure, the framework, a bit more organized setup. And that's what we tried to do around 2015, 2016. Mm-hmm. When we saw that we've done a very good job in terms of the sports itself, but now we need to put a framework around it.
What kind of caused you to start this framework, this organized way? What was it that kind of pushed you to that?
So in my professional background, I've been a firm believer of organizational structures. Okay. Whether it's a small company, larger company, whatever my engagement has been, Brilliant. It's been very organized. My previous experience in the community has been, so I've been the principal of madrasa back in 2006. MashaAllah. I've also had some quite important roles in setting up youth structures within the community widely within the World Federation. Yeah. Then I took a long break and my kids were growing up and they now started playing sports within the Stanmore Jaffrey setup. And at that point, I was invited to get more and more involved and engaged. Yeah. So I said, let's have a look at this. Yeah. So how does it actually work? Okay. And with anything in life, you want to do a good job. Yeah. Actually, you don't want a good job. You want to do an excellent job, right? And so we said, why don't we do that same mentality that we have in our professional careers? Yeah. The mentality that we have in our family lives, where everything's organized, set, there's a vision, there's ambition, and there's structure. Yeah. And so with that mindset, we said that team of people, we got together and we said, listen, we need to apply this to the Stanmore Jaffrey sports as well. So that's how it started. Right.
So I guess, it was established. Tell us about, I guess, some of the benefits of like friendship building, community cohesion. And what were the kind of, I know it's still ongoing, but what were the results that you've seen over the work that you've done, bringing the structured sports within a Jama'at?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, the fruits of the previous deliveries and the work that's been going on for so long, the previous leaders, you can see those kind of benefits from there. Yeah. What the added benefits we've seen over the past 6 to 7 years in particular is in life, people are attracted to quality. Yes. Now you get a certain group of people, a certain number of people attending. But when you have a bit more quality to it,
Yeah.
a bit more structure to it,
Yeah.
semi-professional, professional, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
you're now attracting more people in terms of attendees, kids who want to play, adults who want to play. But also what we've seen is that one of the instrumental parts of this setup are the volunteers.
Right.
Inevitably, right?
Right.
And what we managed to do in the last 6 to 7 years is that we've attracted a larger pool of volunteers, quality people
Wow.
who actually come in, they get qualifications. So for example, when we started the Stanmore Jaffrey's Football Academy back in 2015, 2016.
Okay.
Now prior to that, it was a very good delivery. But we then saw, okay, so how does it work in the grassroots out there under the FA umbrella?
Okay.
We looked at that structure and said, we want to implement that club structure
Brilliant.
into our community structure because our kids, our adults, our members,
Yeah.
they deserve it.
Yeah.
I mean, they actually deserve it,
Yeah.
the quality of that standard.
Yeah.
So we took that framework, we took that benchmark, and we brought that into our community. And over the past 6, 7 years, it started with football, but it spread across the other sports segments we have, from volleyball to racket sports to cycling to running. So yeah.
Okay, so let's because the way I can envision this, okay, you have a pool of youths, and you wanted to do something of high quality for them to be attracted to. Did other mosques within the region, were they also in line with your vision?
So what we did, Stanmore Jaffrey's, we took the lead on this to set up the structured approach. Once we had delivered ourselves, because you want to make sure that it works.
Yes.
Before you start spreading the word.
Yeah.
So we said, okay, football department is going to be a starting point. We put a structure around it. Once we had delivered it for 2 to 3 years and we saw that it was working, it was bringing the benefits, we then started talking, interacting with the other European Jamaats,
Right.
Birmingham, Peterborough, Leicester, etc.
Okay.
Where we said, okay, listen guys, we are doing this, it's working, and would love for you to undertake the same journey.
Right.
And alhamdulillah, we've seen those clubs now flourishing as well.
So when you say those clubs, so for example, Stanmore, is it tournaments between yourselves in Stanmore Mosque, or is it you guys train and you play against other communities outside of London?
Interesting question. So historically, it was once a year. You have a tournament on the bank holiday, August.
Okay.
Where all the Jamaats get together.
Right.
You know, all sports disciplines, ladies, gents, adults, children. And that was the main element or main key point of the sports year. What's happened now over the years is that with this structured approach, it's a bit more. So yes, we do play the annual tournaments between the Jamaats. Okay, we have internal Jamaat tournaments as well. So within Stanmore, within Birmingham, etc.
Okay.
But not only that, there are global tournaments as well.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the local, the regional, and the global ones, which is in a way the Olympics of the of the Muslim sports, if you like.
Do you know, this is brilliant, because I was in Tanzania a year or two ago, and we were speaking to the Jamaat there. And they're like, "Oh, let's go play." I love volleyball.
Yeah.
Not in a professional sense,
course.
but my father used to take us 20 years ago, and every single year in the summer, my father and his friends would come along to the park. He brings in nets and a wire and everything. So
Lovely.
it was semi-structured in a way. And I fell in love with the sport. I didn't take it professional, even semi-professionally, but I just loved playing it.
Yeah.
So whenever they speak about volleyball, when I was in Tanzania, I'm like, yeah, I really want to play. Yeah. And they're like, yeah, have you heard, by the way, we take on teams from Toronto, we take on teams from like Minnesota and all that. I'm like, oh, that's fantastic. So fast forward, I get to Minnesota, like, yeah, do you know we had tournaments against Tanzania? I'm like, oh, wow. And again, I go to Toronto. So wherever I go, they're all talking about this tournament, this volleyball tournament that they have on an annual basis, I think. I think this year it's going to be in Dubai.
Yes,
in
Dubai, exactly. So that is the Olympics of our setup. So essentially, just going back to what you just said. So there are tournaments scattered around. Yeah. There will be North American tournaments. There will be European tournaments. Yeah. Some of the European teams will travel to North America.
That's brilliant.
Stanmore Jaffrey is always trying to have a team there. And alhamdulillah, we've been blessed by attending quite a few tournaments and doing well as well.
Yeah.
And then you have the global tournaments, which takes place every 2 to 3 years.
So who's the running champion of volleyball?
So in volleyball, it is currently Toronto is one of the top teams.
Okay.
In the sort of the Unity Games. So the games in Dubai are called the Unity Games.
Okay.
Okay. And last year, if I'm not mistaken, 3 years ago, back in 2019, Toronto Jaffrey's played against Morogoro, which is the East African team.
Okay.
Okay. And it was a fantastic tournament.
Yeah.
Great delivery, great sportsmanship across the whole setup. I mean, Dubai Jamaat, would like to give them hats off for the delivery they do every time they take up this responsibility. Fantastic. It's a massive commitment.
Yeah. On that note, what is, so if you're hosting a tournament, this is fantastic stuff, by the way. This is like the World Cup and hosting stuff. So if you're hosting a tournament, what are you responsible for?
So coming back to Stanmore Jaffrey's then, because we do host quite a few tournaments, and just spinning on from the volleyball tournament, and I'll give another example as well. We have the Vilaya tournament, which is every 2 to 3 years. And we host teams from Europe, from North America, from Dubai, etc. And just on the reigning champions, Stanmore Jaffrey does have that title, just to put it in there. It is from arranging food. It's booking the courts. It's making sure the schedules are in place. It's making sure the teams that come and attend, hospitality is taken care of. So it's a big job.
It's a fun job, yeah.
But the beauty is, the support that you tend to get from volunteers, it's amazing. Really whether it's in Stanmore, whether it's in Africa, whether it's in Dubai.
And so these tournaments, they're not specific to males only. You have obviously a sisters section that have their own tournaments as well. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. I mean, the growth that we've seen over the past 6 years, in particular on the ladies' side, has been absolutely phenomenal. The number of sports segments they take part in, from football to netball to volleyball as well, it's becoming a big sport within the ladies now. But the number of attendees, you've got the young girls starting at a very early age, commitment. You have sometimes people do attend sports once every now and then, but you got regular attendance. You got the adults as well. So the girl side or the lady side is flourishing as
well. Fantastic. So does it cost quite a lot to, I guess, set up these tournaments?
There is a massive cost. Because inevitably you got food, you got the hall hire, you got the equipment, you got the trophies, and it all builds up at the end of the day, right? And I'll give you the example. So we have a tournament called the Salam Cup. Which is the football tournament for youths. We started that back in 2017, and we have been fortunate that we have a community where companies and individuals support these causes. So either it's in anonymous, Bande Khuda, as we call them, or actual companies coming and sponsoring. And just spinning back to the earlier conversation we had, so why structured sports? Now, these companies have been supporting the sports segments over the years. But what we want to do is that we want to give back. So we tell a company, come and sponsor us, and we know that you're going to do it anyway because of your love for sports and love for the community. But here we're offering you a marketing opportunity. So whether it's a pharmacy or a manufacturing company or any industrial sector, we're actually giving them a marketing platform so that they can promote their business as well. And that was part of our agenda, that have structured sports, invite these sponsors who can invest into the community and sports. But in return, it is our responsibility to give them a platform to market their company as well.
Absolutely. And so tell us about, I guess, very, very lastly, in the last couple of minutes that we have, the overall benefit. I really love the idea of bringing different communities globally together, because it creates a bit of a network. You share experiences, share stories, share good practice.
Of course.
So tell us a bit more about, I guess, the added benefits of having something more international. Although, yes, there are costs involved and there's a bigger responsibility, bigger commitment, but I'm sure in the long run, there's added benefit to make sure there's a network. Tell us a bit more about that.
I mean, let me just quickly just shed some light on the added benefits locally. With structured coaching, with structured delivery, you now have, for example, FA qualified coaches. So Stanmore Jaffrey's, for example, has more than 40 FA1 minimum, FA1 level qualified coaches.
Brilliant.
So it's not just a volunteer appearing there and delivering, but they've gone through training as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So you get quality delivery to the kids. What that also does is not only on the pitch. Now, my child who's has a coach who he talks to and is trained by every week in, week out, now you've got someone to speak to.
Wow.
You've got someone to relate to. And you see that when we go to mosque. When they talk to each other, the young children will go to the coach. They'll say, "Salam, uncle. How are you?" And that bond is also being created, right? Moving on to your initial question in terms of the collaboration with the communities. I've seen over the past 5 years that the collaboration between the communities, not only in the region, so Europe, for example, but internationally has increased. And what happens is that you're actually sharing best practice. You're feeding off each other, learning from each other. And I think that's what the community is all about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. Sometimes we do a lot of work for our local areas, but actually strengthening the bonds between different communities internationally, you create more of a global bond, rather than just a local bond.
Absolutely.
Do you know what? This conversation is really fascinating, and I'd love to carry on speaking about the added benefits of structured sports within our community. Is there one thing that you can recommend to anyone who's listening, who's kind of involved in their local communities, how they can start something like this up?
Absolutely. I mean, we have always opened our doors from Stanmore Jaffrey's, and we've proactively spoken to people if they wanted any ideas or any help and assistance. So that offer is still there. I mean, otherwise, you look at your local setup. So, for example, when we started our football setup, we looked at the FA. How does that work?
Okay.
Similarly, if you go to North America, you look at your local setups and see how you can emulate that and bring in the elements that are important to make this more structured.
Fantastic. Shafique Govani, it's been a pleasure speaking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being on the show.
Shukla.
Brilliant. So that was Shafique Govani, former chairman of Stanmore Jaffrey's, who gave us a fantastic insight into structured sports within our Jamaat. And we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he is given blessings, but also that their work is emulated across all of our communities, inshallah, so that we can strengthen the bonds between us through sports. So yes, you have the run-of-the-mill workshops, lectures, Q&A, but sometimes in order to get the youth to the mosque, you might need to entice them with sports. And so hopefully that is something we can have a look into for the near future. Now coming up...